In this video, I'm going to share with you 4 incredible paranormal experiences that I've had in my life. And with one of those experiences, I got video footage. You're not going to want to miss that. Before I delve into my incredible paranormal experiences, I want to make it clear that the UFO phenomenon is on a whole different level than any other paranormal subject. And the reason for that is because there are innumerable incidences where UFOs have been seen by multiple credible witnesses and tracked by even multiple radars. Witnesses in the air simultaneously with witnesses on the ground. So when it comes to personal paranormal experiences, they don't reach quite the science of UFOs in my opinion. I consider the study of UFOs hard science. I experienced blinking orbs of profoundly bright light. One evening years ago, I was psychologically upset. So I went to the roof of my apartment building and with great intention, I practiced Gong Fu or Kung Fu. And after my practice session, I sat down to do a short light meditation. And in that meditation, I visualized that I was in a bright, beautiful forest. And at the conclusion of my meditation, when I opened my eyes, I noticed peripherally to my right a very bright little ball-like orb. It was really, the brightness of it is what was so bizarre. And then I looked to the right and it disappeared. So I never really got a good look at it. And then I brought my head center again. And then I noticed it on the other side of my face. It was kind of moving around, really, really bright. It reminded me of like a firefly would be a good way to describe it. It was kind of blinking. And I looked to my left, and that sucker was gone. After this bizarre experience of mine, I emailed a meditation expert and conveyed to him what happened. And he told me that he's had this kind of experience many times, and he's talked to a few others who have as well. And of course, I asked him what he thinks these things are, and this is what he told me. Nobody seems to know exactly what they are, but I tend to think they're either a spiritual guide or another higher dimensional being simply blinking hello, or a tiny opening in the fabric that appears to separate our world from the spiritual dimensions. Whether the meditation expert's opinion about it is true or not, I got no idea, but it's definitely food for thought. My second experience also happened during meditation, and in it, I connected with a spiritual portal of some sort. So while I was meditating, and I was practicing mindfulness meditation, which is simply the focusing of one's breath, I noticed a portal opening up in my mind's eye. Now I partially saw it and partially intuited it, and that's probably the best way that I can explain it. But I saw this portal opening up, and I felt like it was coming towards me and calibrating towards me, and I was sort of trying to connect with it somehow. And then somehow I made a connection with it. And when I made that connection, sort of connected to that portal, I received a message. And when I received that message, it did not feel like it was like a thought that arose in my head. It felt like, I guess, telepathic. It felt like something was put into my mind. And the message that I received was, when you go through life relaxed. The most amazing thing about that experience for me was not the message I received or even seeing or experiencing some kind of portal, but it was the way I felt as I was receiving the message. It just felt like had an inexplicable, palpable purity to it, as if it was coming from a realm of pure truth, of objective reality. It's the best way that I can say it. Maybe it is an objective truth from some kind of higher reality, some kind of higher God consciousness, that the highest truth is, when you go through life, you should go through life relaxed. As to what that portal was and what it was attached to, well, of course, I can only speculate. The one thing I'll say is I am inclined to believe that you simply cannot make connection with such a portal of this nature unless you are in a meditative state. My guess is that the portal is in some other realm or frequency that you can connect to when you have an altered state of consciousness. And the realm that it's connected to, I don't know. Of course, I emailed the same meditation expert and I shared with him with my experience, and he told me that he's had that experience as well. He told me that when you connect through such a portal, you are connecting to a higher dimension, which he refers to as the mental plane or the divine mind, the realm of pure truth. Now, my next paranormal experience, which will be number 3, has video footage to go along with it. Yep, I was overtaken by a spiritual energy during meditation, and it didn't last just one meditation session. This actually went on for months. So one day I was meditating, and I'm not sure if this was the first time I experienced the energy or not, but this was certainly a time when it occurred that kind of freaked me out. So I was just meditating, and all of a sudden I noticed that my torso is moving like this, really, really rapidly. And it was immediately apparent that I was not making my torso move. Now, of course, I could have stopped it. It wasn't like a force that I couldn't have stopped, but it was a force that was not voluntary. And so my torso was going around, and I guess like that was the beginning. And there's other weird experiences that I had. I would chant in languages that I don't know what those languages are. I suspect they were Asian, maybe Japanese. I would do all kinds of weird movements, pranayama, weird breathing exercises, and I've never really studied pranayama, but I know a little bit about it. I would do like qigong maneuvers, and I have studied a little qigong. But the bottom line is that while I would meditate, this energy would just manipulate my body, manipulate my breathing. I would chant things. I would sing things. I mean, it was utterly bizarre. And yes, I have a video of it. I only took one video of it. Unfortunately, I took a whole bunch of audio of it too, from like these little audio devices that record, and I think I threw them out because I just didn't care at that point. I had other priorities, but that was pretty dumb because at this point, I gotta wonder, whatever I was uttering during these meditations, is it a language that someone knows of, and could they decipher it? So yes, I'm regretful that I threw those out, but whatever. I do have this one video of it. I'm going to show you certain parts of it. Obviously, it will not encompass every little thing that I experienced, but it encompasses some of the things that I have conveyed, and it's quite interesting. Roll the tape. Now that happened back in 2011, and essentially every meditation practice I had, this energy would come through me and sort of move me all around, as you just witnessed, in all kinds of bizarre ways. And there were some times where the things that I said would be much more complex than what you saw there. And it would be like, wow, am I speaking another language? It and I would sing stuff. I mean, and sometimes I did get the impression like I might have been channeling something. Yeah, it's kind of creepy, but the whole thing was utterly bizarre. Now, some of you out there may be like, oh my God, you're being possessed by a demon. It's the devil. I got a retort to that. I think people don't understand what demonic entities are. In my perspective, you are possessed by a demon when you become depressed, when you're filled with anxiety, when you're filled with anger, when you're filled with jealousy. That is demonic. Meditation and those experiences I had back in 2011, I don't think most meditators have that happen to them. And frankly, I didn't really enjoy it. It wasn't painful, it didn't bother me, but it wasn't bringing me into the deepest depths that meditation is capable of bringing me into. Yes, even after those weird meditations, I felt better after meditating, but it didn't bring me into the profundity that still and deep meditation can. But what I wanted to get at is that there are some people who believe that meditation opens you up to demonic forces, and the reality of the situation is that nothing could be further from the truth. Meditation is the antithesis of demonic forces because they've done scientific studies that show that parts of your brain that are responsible for inner peace and happiness actually get larger as a consequence of meditation. Meditation also prolongs your life because it makes you handle stress better and so forth. It also cultivates you making better decisions and treating people nicer and more kinder, because when you cultivate inner peace, when you cultivate happiness, when you cultivate equilibrium, you treat people better, you treat yourself better, you make less bad choices because you have greater clarity of mind. So the whole notion that meditation opens you up to demonic forces is just purely laughable. Anyways, so of course I emailed the meditation expert to ask him what the hell is going on with all this weird movements during my meditation. And this is what he wrote me back. The phenomena you are experiencing is something that meditators and yogis have experienced since ancient times. It has its basis in two principles. One, Chi has innate intelligence. When experienced in this manner, it is often referred to by yogis as the goddess Kundalini, but I generally hesitate to use that term because of all the misconceptions and misinformations about it. Two, it actually does deliberately move the body into positions that will facilitate its own flow, as well as catalyzing specific effects on the endocrine chakra system. If it continues, it's best to go with it unless it becomes too intense. This experience that I'm about to tell you about is the most profound paranormal experience I've ever had. And it did not happen in the midst of meditation. It is not even remotely related to meditation, at least not directly. I was 14 years old and I was on vacation with my family, and I was in a car that was driving on a highway or a road. I don't remember exactly. And I was looking out the window. Just looking out the window, it's a boring drive at night. All of a sudden, I noticed this energy or this feeling of bliss overtake me. It was a profound feeling of bliss. And just as that occurred, I received a prophecy. And it was a two-part prophecy. Basically, the first part said, this is going to happen. And also, this is going to happen. Interestingly, the first part of the prophecy did come to pass, and it was something that I seemingly would not have been able to have known, because I think it happened, as far as I can understand the situation. What came to pass happened while I was on vacation in Vermont, and I only found out that it happened when I got back from Vermont. The second part of the prophecy has not come to pass. Now, I feel uncomfortable saying this because it's so out there. I feel very uncomfortable, but you got to get out of your comfort zone sometimes. This is my YouTube channel where I share things about my life. Well, sometimes. I'm not going to share the prophecy that I received. And the reason I'm not going to share it is not because I don't want to share it with my audience, because I really would like to. But the reason I'm not going to share the prophecy is because the second part did not come to pass. And I want to watch how this unfolds. I want to see if the second part of the prophecy simply will not come to pass, or if it will, I want to make sure that it actually comes to pass without me meddling in it. In other words, if I tell you what the second part of the prophecy is, and it takes place, then someone can say, well, it took place because you put it out there, and then someone, manipulated circumstances to make it take place. So that's why I'm cautious to do such a thing. And to be clear, the prophecy is not impressive. It's okay. It's not anything, it's kind of mundane. It has nothing to do with spirituality as far as I can tell. It's just telling me something that will unfold in my life that really isn't that big a deal, which makes the whole thing really bizarre to some extent. I have told a friend of mine who lives in Canada, I emailed him what the prophecy was, but I really haven't really told anybody else. I mean, I told maybe someone like forever ago, but like the guy in Canada is like the only person that probably remembers anything regarding this prophecy. Now, the reason I think I received a two-part prophecy, this is my hypothesis, is because whatever sent me that prophecy wanted me to believe that the second part would happen. Now think about it. How could you get someone to believe that a second half of a prophecy will happen? Well, if you gave them two parts where it says X will happen and later in your life Y will happen, if X happens, you're more likely to believe that also Y will happen. So that is my hypothesis as to why I received two separate prophecies. And I mean, I don't understand that whole thing that happened to me when I was 14 years old. To this day, I'm pretty weirded out by it in some ways. Now, after it happened, I got to be honest, I believed it was the source of all existence that gave me that prophecy. But at this stage in my life, I'm more open-minded to other potentialities. Whoever gave me that prophecy, it could have been, first of all, it could have just been my mind going haywire. I've never ruled that out. I don't rule that out about anything. I try to remain objective. It could have been a secret civilization that has the capability to implant things in your mind while also making you feel bliss while you receive that information. It could be extraterrestrials. It could be a messenger from the source of existence, or it could be directly from the source of existence. I don't know. But that's all I'm going to say about that. Those are the 4 paranormal experiences that are the most significant and that I can nail down the most, basically, for the most part, that I've experienced. And here's the interesting thing. I am not the only person to have had paranormal experiences, if I had to guess. My guess would be at least 50% of all people have had paranormal experiences that they cannot easily explain. I mean, there have been people who have reported that they have passed on to the other side, to heaven, come back and have told about it. Now, did they really go to heaven? I don't know. Maybe their mind, some scientists will tell you, and they may be correct, I don't know, that people who have near-death experiences, all that was taking place is their mind was going haywire, and because they're dying, or their brain's not getting the necessary oxygen or what have you, and they hallucinate as a result. Now, personally, I do believe there's something to near-death experiences, at least for some people, but I'm not going to say I know there is. It's just a personal belief of mine, just as with the prophecy that I just told you about that I received when I was 14 years old in Vermont. I don't believe that was my mind playing tricks on me. It could have been, but I believe there was something to it. It's just, I 100% experienced. That to me is fact. So if you experience something, it's not proof that it is what you think it is. It's just proof that you experienced something. So that's all I got to say about that. And I guess to try to tie this whole video into what I usually talk about, which is entering a post-disclosure world, recently I had a video about my predictions for 2018, my disclosure predictions, and one of my predictions was there will be a renaissance and exploration in forbidden science, paranormal subjects, and conspiracy theories. So as we enter that post-disclosure world, perhaps humanity will be less reluctant to share their paranormal experiences with others. And I would love to hear about your paranormal experiences. How about you leave some of your best paranormal experiences in the comment section below. Also, I would like to say that I've just added rewards to my Patreon account. So if that interests you, You can check it out. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. I will see you next time.